Hi, this is Brian Oliva at Getsemani Music. This is part 2 of our look at the Moog One arpeggiator. I think today it'll be more of a demonstration. I'll just start playing around with some stuff and then kind of document what I was doing so you can try to follow along or try it yourself. But before we get too far, you might want to go back and review a couple of my older tutorials. The Moog One Not So Deep Dive, I'd look at sections on the hold button and selecting synths, and also how to split the keyboard. And in the other video, mixing and matching timbres. That's all stuff that can come in handy when you're putting together something where you want to be playing arpeggiators as part of a song or a jam. So if you haven't done it already, take a look at those first. The links are in the comments and should be in the top of the screen here. So check those out and then come on back to here and we'll do some demos and playing around with the arpeggiator. We're going to start with one of the factory patches called Drifting Fog. This one has all three synths being used, and by default all three synthesizers are activated and lit up on panel focus. That's important because if you remember, using the hold button or activating the arpeggiator is done on a per synth basis. So if you've only got one layer highlighted, only that layer would be affected. In this case, the one we're using, all three layers would be affected all at the same time. We'll start with a simple pattern with the arpeggiator set to a single octave with direction and pattern both going up. The patch itself is just a simple polyphonic patch. So now we'll turn on the arpeggiator and the activate hold. That affects all three layers. So we'll try a few things now to help you understand what's happening here. The first thing I'm doing now is shutting off layers 2 and 3, so we can see just what layer 1 sounds like by itself. Now we'll shut off 1 and activate layer 2. And now layer 3. You can hear that layer 3 is much quieter than the other two, and it's panned quite a bit to the right. So what I'm going to try now is to quickly reactivate the top two layers, but with panel focus set on 3, I'm only turning on hold and the arpeggiator for layer 3 only. So when I tap a chord, the top two layers just play the chord and then fade away, while layer 3 continues to hold with the arpeggiator running, which gives you a much different effect. Now we'll look at a more complicated patch created by Jamie Morden from Geosynths called ARP 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 GEO. Let's see what it sounds like first. Okay, so let's check the setup. We can see that all three synths are being used and they're all arpeggiators. Let's see what's different. They all seem to be set up the same, with the exception of voice 3. Pendulum is turned on with the direction is up, where all the rest are up-down with the pendulum not activated. The next screen shows even more. Here we can see that the clock division for synth 1 is set to 1/16, which is a pretty good clip. Synth 2 is set to 1/8, which is half the speed of synth 1, and synth 3 is set to 1/32, which is double the speed of synth 1. The only other difference is that note reset is turned off on synth 1 while it's on for both synth 2 and 3, and the gate lengths are slightly different for each one. But the big difference between all these is the clock division, which will really make a difference in how each voice is heard. Let's check it out. Now we'll turn off synths 2 and 3 to see what synth 1 sounds like by itself. I'm also going to use the mod wheel and XY pad to check out the modulation that I know is built into synths 1 and 2. Recall that synth 1 is running with a clock division of 1/16. You'll notice the difference when we try 2 and 3 in a minute. Now we'll try synth 2, which is running at only 1/8 clock division. By modulating the filters with the mod wheel, you can really change the sound of the whole thing. And finally synth 3, which is running real fast with a 1/32 clock division. There's no modulation with this one. Individually, each arpeggio is relatively simple, but all synced to the master clock with 3 different clock divisions. When you overlay them, you can get a quite complicated pattern. Add to that the modulation effects that you can use with the mod wheel and the XY pad, and you have a wealth of different sounds you can make while playing live without changing any other controls. For our final example, we're going to pull up a factory patch and make some modifications to it, and then add some ARPs and show you something new. We're going to start with the factory lead patch called Bright Size Squares. This patch utilizes synths 1 and 2. Panel focus is turned on for both of them. The first thing I'm going to do is split the keyboard and set the low note at C#5. That'll leave the bottom end of the keyboard open to add something new. But first I'm going to go into the arpeggiator. And again, it's still set for both synths 1 and 2. The ARP is currently set to a clock division of 1/8. So I've turned the clock division up to 1/16, and we've turned note reset on. That'll give us nice, bright, and fast ARP when we choose to use it. Now I'm going to switch over to synth 3. I'm highlighting a patch called Another Bass. Now we're not going to load it, but we are going to copy timbre 1 into synth 3. What that does is takes our original Bright Size Squares patch and adds another bass under synth 3. So now with panel focus, I've turned that on. And I'm going to set the high note for another bass at C5. So another bass plays the bottom end of the keyboard, and the lead part's playing the upper side of the keyboard. Now we'll start working on the Synth 3 arpeggiator for the bass. We're starting with a clock division of 1/4 and octave set to 2. Because we have panel focus on only Synth 3, this has no effect on the faster ARPs in Synth 1 and 2. We'll try tweaking the bass sound a little bit. Now we'll set note reset to on. Sounds good, but I think the clock division's too slow. So we're going to increase that to 1/8. I'm going to switch panel focus back to synths 1 and 2 so that I can turn the ARPs for the leads on and off at will. That concludes our lesson on arpeggiators. Hopefully you found the video useful and have learned a few new tricks and know a little bit better now how you can control multiple arpeggios and use them in your creative works. We'll just play it out with the last jam. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video. Take care.